Okay, so it's our Saturday evening gathering, and for the first time in a long time we're not live streaming, and dealing with obstacles and difficulties. Kind of like practicing Dhamma, so that there's always some obstacle or difficulty that we have to work with, deal with, try to overcome in some way. Comes to mind is Ajahn Chah's encouragement to, in dealing with obstacles and difficulties, you just have to work with it. And you said you have if the defilements come at you high, then you have to learn how to duck. And if they come at you low, then you have to learn how to jump over them. So it's just that working with what we experience, and just trying to be adaptable, be skillful, respond with mindfulness, discernment, and deal with things as best one can, and have a certain trust in the Dhamma, in the practice. So that's kind of the reality, and but also reflecting that when we put our effort and attention toward the path of practice, toward the teachings, it has its own kind of integrity, or has its own kind of special qualities. I mean, what thinking like when in the morning chanting, the recollection of the Buddha's teachings as Adi Kalayanam, Majje Kalayanam, Pariyosana Kalayanam, beautiful in the beginning, beautiful in the middle, beautiful in the end, and that's very much the case in that sense of the teachings, the practice, the training, the tools that we have are as we cultivate them, develop them, they are beautiful. Kalyana is both beautiful, good. I mean, like Kalyana Mitta, good spiritual friendships, and that sense of good, trustworthy, beautiful, elegant, even. The teachings and the practice and the training, so that, and then as we ourselves put our attention on that and steep ourselves in the in the teachings and the practice. There is a kind of transformation or a steeping in those qualities that are beautiful, are good, and it uplifts, it inspires, it transforms us. I think of an image that Ajahn Chah used of the it's like a coconut tree where the coconut tree takes just ordinary water from the ground that is just pretty mundane, not so clean, not so pure. Draws that water up into the trunk, up into the fruits of the coconuts, and then the water that is in the coconuts, that coconut water is very sweet and pure. It's transformed from the ordinary into something that is very, very sweet, very clean, very pure, and that is somehow like our own being. Just that path of practice, path of training, the teachings themselves transform our sila, samadhi, panya, our virtue, our meditation, our discernment into something that has more integrity to it, has more beauty to it, has more purity to it, and has a liberating quality and possibility. Same with it, just our actions of body, speech, and mind. All of us are ordinary human beings, and but as we continue to practice, to cultivate, to develop, then this practice has the possibility of transforming our these ordinary actions of body, speech, and mind into something that is noble, is worthy of worthy of praise, worthy of respect, and that so just giving ourselves to this practice, giving ourselves to the training, giving ourselves to the teachings, and letting it do its work on us. That the teachings are the fundamental training in our practice, and particularly, of course, that foundation of virtue, of integrity, that has to be in place. But then when we think of the practice, especially of our meditation practice, people can tie themselves in knots of what method, what technique, what's the best, most proper, appropriate, efficient technique to use, and then how much samatha, how much vipassana. When do I do samatha? When do I do vipassana? We can tie ourselves in knots with that, and it's much more. Again, this giving oneself to the practice, giving oneself to the training, and we learn by doing. Our understanding goes through, arises from the actual engagement in the practice, and the Ajahn Chah gave the simile of so like when you like with samatha and vipassana, I said it's like samatha is one end of the stick and vipassana is the other end of the stick. He said, but if you pick up a stick, both ends are going to come up. You might pick it up more toward one end or the other, but still the whole stick is going to come up. It's just by its very nature, it's not. Again, it's that practice and training, and there is an element, and we learn from both. So that just learning how to settle the mind, learning how to turn our attention to the stillness of the mind, peacefulness, the tranquility of the mind. It is the nature of the mind itself is it is peaceful, and of course it also gets distracted by various hindrances, and so there's learning how to work with those various hindrances. Recognize and not resenting them, or not kind of identifying with them in terms of I'm such a greed type, I'm such a aversive type, I'm such a delusional type, and creating a whole story around identity. It's more like, this is what, say, sense desire feels like. This is what irritation, ill will, aversion feels like, and this is what sloth and torpor feels. This is what restlessness feels like. This is what doubt and uncertainty feel like. And what it feels like is suffering. And so that it doesn't. It needs to be worked with. It needs to be countered in some way. We need to be patient with it. We need to figure out ways so that we're not overwhelmed by these various hindrances, and learn while we're doing it. As we learn from our efforts and our experience, and giving importance to that tranquility and stillness, peacefulness, clarity of the mind, of the heart, like that appreciating the kind of well-being and relief that the heart feels when it's able to just release or avert attention away from those hindrances, and so that we gain skill, we gain and gain an energy of the mind as well, because that's what these hindrances sort of, they're all kind of energy sucks. They just pull the energy out of the mind. You know, they're kind of attractive in their own way, but it's kind of a perverse attraction. The overwhelming feeling that we're left with when we dwell in any of those hindrances, is that feeling of dukkha, of some, it's unsatisfactory. It's it's not easeful. It's not the heart is not content. It's stressed. So that element of dukkha is there, but then realizing that when we, as we're able to release and counter those hindrances, there is a very direct experience of well-being, of ease, spaciousness, and steadiness, and I mean, that's a tremendous relief. So that just that learning how to pay attention to that, and it's working with that tranquility. But it's at the same time, you're picking up the stick and the insight into and the say the knowledge and understanding that we cultivate, attending to, is also recognizing that whatever those states of mind are, however much elation or depression is there, it really is impermanent. It really is uncertain. It really is unsure. It really is anicca. It is inconstant. So that there's that inconstancy, unsureness, and so that sense of it, because that's the Buddha keeps pointing to these aspects of just fundamental truths, fundamental nature of all experience, of all sankharas, of all things, is that anicca dukkha anatta. It is impermanent. It is dukkha. It is there is a frustrating element that is always there, and that sense of this is not self. This is not me. This is not mine. This is not what I an identity that is intrinsic to my being. It's an element of nature, and it can be relinquished, it can be released, it can be let go of, and of course it needs to be let go of. So that element of practice of just the fact of trying too hard to figure out exactly, okay, how much samatha, how much vipassana, when is it samatha, when is it vipassana, is restlessness. It's doubt. That is the hindrance itself. just committing to this practice, committing to the training, just working with what we're experiencing is the experience we need to be relying on in order for understanding to arise and for a relinquishing, a letting go, a willingness to not identify with it. That's because it's that picking up and identifying. Say that is a major part of the problem, and you realize, oh, I don't have to. I can just recognize this as what it is, even if it's something that is painful. We've kind of failed in some way, or we've been criticized in some way. It is painful, but it's also, what are we going to learn from it? What can we understand from that? How can we use that as a means of furthering our penetration of truth, our ability to relinquish and to let go. And the same is, it isn't as if, if we say we sit down, meditate, our minds become incredibly peaceful and still, and then we get all wrapped up in rejoicing of how successful we are. I mean, that's a good way to trip ourselves up because we identify with it. And so it's the identification that is the problem, and which doesn't. And of course, when we say that, then people oftentimes say, "Well, I just need to dissociate and not identify with any." But it's in engaging with this appreciation of the truth of the Dhamma, appreciation of that beautiful in the beginning, beautiful in the middle, beautiful in the end, that the implementation and living with virtue and integrity and a sense of a sense of the beauty of the wholesome, beauty of the good. That is it's part of it, and in the same way, the appreciation of the beauty of the peaceful heart, the elegance of and beauty of seeing things in their true nature. It doesn't leave one as some dissociated, neutral automaton. I mean, it's one can engage with in ways that are really. You think of certainly the Buddha, just reflecting on 2,500 years, his presence is still reverberating through the world. That is a tremendous impact of what was truly good. same with Ajahn Chah. I mean, it's just on a certain level, is it's just a country boy from the backwoods of Ubon, kind of an insignificant being from a nowhere place, but his impact has reverberated all around the world, and it's because of that commitment to the good, that giving himself to what was beautiful in the beginning, beautiful in the middle, beautiful in the end, and the same with say with us to a lesser or greater degree, and that ability to also, that's what nourishes our cultivation of this path. It displays the fruits of the path, but it also nourishes the path in the same way that these things come together. And like Ajahn Chah said, it's just in a very ordinary image. It's just as a stick. You pick up a stick and the element of samatha, vipassana, the element of calm and insight, those come up together. So that is picking up this practice. The fruits appear, and and of course it does take time. We do need to be patient with the practice, but also not to underestimate the power of the practice or our own capacity to realize it, to fulfill it. Because it's not about personal qualities, just giving oneself to the practice, to the training, and that in the same way that say again that image of the coconut. It's just ordinary water in the ground, which normally you wouldn't even want to drink. But when the coconut tree pulls it up, transforms it into that sweet, clean, pure coconut water, delicious. And so the same way, the fruits of the practice of the Dhamma, it has that satisfying quality. So just to encourage everybody to just keep giving oneself to the practice and allow that practice, allow the path to transform us. To offer that for reflection this evening.